Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson football channel. I hope you guys had a cracking weekend. You guys absolutely loved the Julian Alvarez news that we spoke about on Friday. I've been thinking about this all weekend, to be fair. Had a nice little chilled one this weekend. And I'm thinking, what would Chelsea's attack be like with Alvarez? And I really do think if Chelsea go in there and we put in a decent offer, Man City could be tempted to sell him. But we're not going to talk so much today about Alvarez. I've got another Euro 2024 ticket giveaway with flights and hotels that I'll tell you about in a moment. We're going to talk about re-signing a goalkeeper today who used to be a Chelsea player. I say re-signing. I found out that Marcin Bulka, is 24 years old. I don't know about you lot, but I remember when this guy was a teenager and he was still at Chelsea Football Club. I can't believe he's only 24. Polish goalkeeper Michael Olise. There is some more stories to discuss here regarding the Crystal Palace winger. And then we're going to talk about the second Chelsea signing of the summer. It's a 17-year-old from Brazil. I mean, you could have guessed that one probably because that's all we bloody do. It's not all that we do. We're going to discuss that. We're going to talk about the Christopher Nkunku news, which I'm not going to lie to you. I had a weekend that was dedicated to other sports that weren't football. We had the French Open final. We had an incredible Canadian Grand Prix. It was amazing, and I was enjoying a feast of other sports before we get the Euros taking over from the end of this week. And we're also going to finish with some news about Armando Broja. But before we do that, I've got some big news for you. Stay tuned and enjoy this one. Do you want tickets for Euro 2024 with flights and a hotel for yourself and a mate included? Stay tuned to the end of this little segment to find out exactly how you can win. I've teamed up with Matchmasters, which is the world's most popular multiplayer match 3 game. The way that you win on the game is by matching up different symbols. As you can see here, I'm the Chelsea Blue Stars. We wouldn't be anything else on this channel, would we? You get points and you got to try and beat your opponents that can be from all over the world. There's special activations and boosters that you can do to get yourself extra points. If you want to win this giveaway, you've got to go and download the game. The QR code is up on the screen and there is a link in the description. You can only be entered if you download the game using that link in the description or the QR code. And you've got to get yourselves 250 trophy points by playing Match Masters. There will be a call to action on the game. And if you've won, you'll be announced via the raffle that they'll be hosting on the app. Download the game, start playing Match Masters today, and you'll be in with a chance of winning those Euro 2024 tickets, hotel and flights for yourself and a mate. Download the game. Top link in the description. Thank you to Matchmasters for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to it. And we're back, and let's begin with the news. According to L'Equipe, which is a news outlet in France, Chelsea are showing interest in re-signing Marcin Bulka. Now, this goalkeeper, right, he's Polish. He's 24 years old. And for whatever reason, I just remember this guy being at Chelsea years ago. Do you know what I mean? He's only 24 years old. He's a Polish international. And when it comes to re-signing an old player, I'm always skeptical about it. I'm always thinking, well, why didn't we keep him in the first place? But when it comes to a goalie, goalkeepers, they don't really hit the peak of their careers until they're about 30 years old. Now, if we do re-sign Bulka, I do have questions as to what it would mean for Sanchez. We have heard a lot of weird stories about Enzo Maresca liking Sanchez. I told you guys before, last week, I don't believe for 1 second that Enzo Maresca, with the way that he wants his goalkeepers to be playing football, I don't think that he rates Robert Sanchez whatsoever. I think that is complete nonsense story. So when it comes to Petrovic and the development that we saw of Petrovic last season, we've seen that he's got a good relationship with a lot of players in the squad. He's a young goalkeeper, bought in from the MLS. And to be fair, as much as there are other players last season that will absolutely deserve the praise, I kind of think Petrovic and the growth that we saw from him last season goes under the radar. The fact that he came from playing Major League Soccer, which, no offense, but like the league quality isn't that good. It's not brilliant. And to make that step up from playing at Chicago there, coming into Chelsea and firmly cementing himself as the number one. Yes, he's not perfect, but when it comes to the way that he plays with the ball at his feet, there were massive improvements from Petrovic. He's a good shot stopper. He's big. And I think if we do sign Bulka, it's an interesting one because I'm not entirely sure if he goes straight in at Chelsea and becomes the number one keeper. But let's keep an eye on this story as it develops. Now, let's get excited, shall we? Because when I spoke about Julian Alvarez the other day, you guys seem to absolutely love this idea. And for me, Alvarez, if it's outside of Chelsea, is one of my favourite players in the Premier League. Another one of my favourite players in the Premier League is Michael Olise, the Crystal Palace right winger. There are a lot of stories going around at the moment, and I've seen Mark Goldbridge, Man United fan, he's not too happy about Chelsea and the way that we're kind of swooping in for Michael Olise. We've got to remember that Joe Shields knows Michael Olise. There's a relationship there. And for me, Joe Shields is like the unsung hero of Chelsea Football Club. I'm excited to see how Shields can work with Enzo Maresca, utilising Lavia, who's obviously a player that has worked with both Joe and Enzo Maresca in the past. And of course, there's Cole Palmer. Michael Olise, if Chelsea can pull this one off, 60 million quid, then I'm telling you now, as much as at the moment my footballing head is very much looking forward to England at the Euros, and then quietly in the background, Chelsea are getting transfer business done. We're going to talk in a moment about yet another new signing that we've already made in this window. Michael Olise, for me, even if we don't get someone like an Alvarez, I think Šeško, at the moment, the rumours are Arsenal are the favourites to sign Benjamin Šeško, which is why the Julian Alvarez to Chelsea story is beginning to gather some momentum. It's beginning to gather some pace. If you add Olise and you add Alvarez into this Chelsea team, with Christopher Nkunku back next season, Cole Palmer in there as well, I'm looking at the Chelsea front line and what it could potentially be. And I'm starting to be like, well, if Enzo Maresca can get these boys playing, is there any reason why we don't go on a challenge next season? And I'm trying to I know some of you might be like, Benson, don't do it. Don't do it. But if you've got a front four where you've got Julian Alvarez up top, you've got Nkunku, Palmer, Olise, tell me why. Tell me why that team cannot challenge for the Premier League. I think Man City this coming season, with all of the off-the-field stuff that's happening with them regarding the 115 charges, there's currently a civil war that Man City are partaking in against the Premier League to basically try and change all of these financial fair play regulations, PSR rulings. And I just feel as though that there's going to be a lot of noise at Man City this season that I don't think is going to help them. Pep Guardiola is expected to leave City at the end of next season, so maybe Alvarez is just going to bide his time and wait and not join. But whether it is just Olise that comes in an attacking sense, Chelsea's attack immediately levels up. He is such a brilliant player, mercurial Premier League talent, and I think Chelsea should be doing everything. And at the moment, we are led to believe that Chelsea are the favourites ahead of Manchester United to sign Michael Olise. If I was to make my prediction, I think this week we're going to know. I think this week we will find out who Olise is going to sign for. And I'll tell you now, I like the way that Chelsea are doing business here. We've got our targets. Olise is the top target for the summer, and we want to get it done early. We want to give Enzo Maresca as much of the squad that he's going to have for next season to work with as soon as he gets the players back and he starts his job at Chelsea. Now, let's talk about another Chelsea signing. If you haven't already, smack a like on this video. Chelsea have prepared Pedro Lima deal with Strasbourg. Brazilian right-back expected to join the French club from Sport Recife, which is, by the way, a second division team in Brazil. Agreement on personal terms, working on final details between the clubs to be sealed in the next days. Strasbourg move with the view to CFC in the future. I mean, this is good, right? This whole multi-club model thing that we know has been something that the new ownership have been banging on about from the start. They want to be able to not manipulate, they want to try and replicate something similar to that of the Red Bull model, where Red Bull Salzburg are obviously a decent side in Austria, but Red Bull Leipzig, they want to make them one of the dominant teams in Germany. They're consistently qualifying for the Champions Leagues. There's also other stories of how these multi-club models are creating conflicts, such as Man United and Nice, and how can they not be in the same competitions? You've got Man City, Girona in Spain, who obviously had a brilliant season. And I do think that as much as it is kind of the monopolization of money in football and how money just starts to talk massively, I do think this will benefit us as Chelsea fans in the future if we're bringing in talents that 17-year-old Brazilian, I think Pedro Lima is 17. Like, if he's going to Strasbourg with the view of them moving up to Chelsea, Strasbourg are playing top-level football in France. And I say top-level football, I mean top-league football. I don't know much about this geezer. I can't sit here and say to you I've been following him for years because he's flipping 17 years old and he plays in the second tier in Brazil. But from what we're hearing at the moment, this guy is a talented left-back. And I think in the next coming years, Chelsea will be looking at that left-back position as we look to offload Ian Martson. We've seen the Ben Chilwell decline. Cucurella's doing great, played really well for Spain the other day as well, going into the Euros. But this is another deal that Chelsea are getting over the line. We move to discuss Christopher Nkunku. At the weekend, as I said, I was enjoying the tennis. I was enjoying the F1, some amazing qualifying in Montreal. And I saw a video from Fabrizio Romano and I was a bit like, I don't know, should I eat the lid of my Immunizer vitamin C drink or do I just sit back and take this one in? Christopher Nkunku isn't going anywhere. Praise the Lord. Just as we get the guy back to fitness, I think the fact that people have even suggested that he had a bad season means that they've just not been paying any attention to Chelsea. They've not been paying any attention to the football. Christopher Nkunku, key part of Chelsea's plans for next season and for the future. No chance for an exit, despite reports on bids and more. After unlucky season, I'm glad Fabrizio Romano alludes to this also, clubs keep planning with Nkunku as crucial player and he's determined to do his best for Chelsea. Linking back in to the Olise story from earlier on today, if Chelsea do somehow manage to sign an Alvarez, a Seshko with Nkunku, Palmer, Olise playing behind him, I seriously don't see why Chelsea can't be challenging. If we can keep Caicedo and Enzo close together on the pitch and get the best out of them, which I think Enzo Maresca will absolutely do, it will be a priority when he comes into the club. The more I see the way that we're moving in this transfer window, when we look at the players that we're linked with and that we want to sign, I just think next season could be great. I know that people don't want to get excited. We don't want to just start overthinking. But I'm just looking around at the Premier League and I think there is absolutely a gap next season where teams can really take a good advantage of the change that's coming to your Man Cities. Take advantage potentially of Liverpool and that adjustment phase with Arne Slot coming in. Aston Villa, are they going to be as good next year? Will they sign enough players? They've got financial issues potentially there. Will they be able to cope with the Champions League? So many different stories and openings. And with the squad that Chelsea have, the end of the season that we had, players like Nkunku, they'll feel like a new signing next year. And I'm happy that he's not going anywhere. The final story of the day from Ben Jacobs, exclusive. Everton are pushing to sign Armando Broja. Club in daily contact with Chelsea with a £30 million package discussed. EFC hoping for a quick breakthrough. If Chelsea can get £30 million for Armando Broja with the last 18 months to 2 years that this guy has had, it will be absolutely phenomenal business. If you think about Olise will cost 60 million. If you can get 30 million for Broja, then it's phenomenal business. Chelsea will be absolutely elevating that front line. You bring in a Benjamin Sesko. He's a better striker than Armando Broja. I feel sorry for him in a way because that ACL injury, it ruined him for a little while. And then the Fulham move at the end of last season, that didn't go well either. Pochettino had questions about Broja's attitude, about his personality. But to be fair, I think it's a lot of times as fans, we can forget the mental side of how difficult it is for players that are recovering from injuries, that worry that they might not ever have the legs that they used to, the energy that they used to, the movement potential that they used to. And I think at this point in time, the way that Broja's career hasn't really flourished since that loan move to Southampton, you get 30 million for him, and I think you're laughing, to be quite honest. Everton are looking to sign him. Let's see what happens with this deal. Thank you guys for watching this video today. And as I said earlier, make sure you download Matchmasters. The link is in the description. Euro 2024 tickets, flights, and hotel giveaways. Again, you guys have been lucky this year on GBFC, haven't you? Thank you once again to Matchmasters for sponsoring this one. Thanks to you, as always, for tuning in and making all of this possible on GBFC. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Euro 2024 predictions. Come on, you Blues.